18 years in prison wasn't long enough for them. Now they want him silenced forever. Stuart Rhodes, freed by Trump's commutation, tries to speak at an Illinois event. And what happens? Angry mobs try to shut him down. The same people who celebrate plays about killing Trump, who post assassination fantasies online, who wish death on their political enemies, they're terrified of one man telling his story. Rhodes never even entered the Capitol. He told followers to stay out, yet they gave him 18 years while actual terrorists got less. Now he's free, he's speaking truth, and they can't stand it. What you're about to see exposes their hypocrisy. They promote violence against Trump while silencing those who expose their lies. The double standard ends now, so keep on watching. Now let me ask you something. If you've built up $100,000 or more in investments, do you really want all of it riding on the stock market? Think about it. Banks, billionaires, even entire countries are loading up on physical gold and silver. Why? Because when markets swing, real assets hold their value. That's why I want to tell you about Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to own investment-grade gold and silver, the same kind big players are buying. Visit nextnewsgold.com today. That's nextnewsgold.com. It's time to protect what you have built. The number also on the screen, 877-646-5347. Their operators are standing by, and when you talk to them, tell them that Gary Franchi said hello. So this was brought to my attention over the weekend, and I said, you know what? It's time to do a little investigating, and that's exactly what I did. Cancel culture is trying to take out Stuart Rhodes. I've known Stuart for, probably 20 years or more. At the very beginning of my work on this channel with the Next News Network, he was a frequent fixture here. And I've seen his work firsthand, helping people, supporting patriots. And now he gets wrapped up in this January 6th. President Trump commutes his sentence. Now he's going to be speaking at an event in Geneva, Illinois. There's a radical leftist group called We Can Lead Change in Fox Valley, and they're pressuring the Eaglebrook Country Club to cancel the September 23rd event, which is hosted by the Three-Headed Eagle Alliance. That is where Stuart Rhodes is scheduled to speak. Now, Stuart Rhodes, at the center of this, let's dive a little bit deeper. This will blow your mind. Here's the truth, though. Eaglebrook is not endorsing anything. A private member rented space for a lawful event, period. But the activists are targeting the club itself, demanding Rhodes be silenced. Classic cancel culture intimidation. They've even launched this petition to stop Stuart Rhodes from speaking at Eaglebrook. Three-Headed Eagle Organization is hosting Stuart Rhodes at an event September 23rd at Eaglebrook Country Club in Geneva. You can see the event here. We Can Lead Change, Fox Valley activists, Democrats of Geneva, Western Kane Democrats, and their partners feel this event is very concerning and have created a petition below. Please consider signing the form. Well, how about you consider attending the event and learn something? And they have this. If you want to contact Eaglebrook Country Club yourself, click here. So they're doing a pressure campaign to try to cancel this event. Now, here's the irony. These clowns pretend to be nonpartisan, but their own site has a section openly endorsing Democrat candidates. So much for neutrality. Their mask slips the moment you look closer. See, new are nonpartisan volunteers championing equality and accountability. This is from from their website. And you can see they have a whole section about candidate endorsements. Each candidate we endorse promotes justice, equality, and community empowerment. They claim to build an inclusive democratic society, but what does that mean in practice? Silencing anyone they disagree with. Their version of democracy equals censorship. This is what's so funny. Inclusive advocacy for all. Everyone deserves to be heard, except for Stuart Rhodes, I guess, right? And then here's the bombshell. On their own homepage, they display a protest photo with a sign reading 8647. That's not random numbers. That is a code for assassinate Donald Trump. This is on their front page, nonpartisan volunteers. And you can see right there, I've highlighted the section, Assassinate Trump 8647. Clearly, one of their events that they are so proud of that they put it on their front page right at the top. Maybe they should have blurred that out. Because if you ask me, they are advocating for the assassination of President Trump. The group that claims to fight extremism proudly tolerates a coded call to violence against President Trump, and they dare lecture others about safety and division. There's a better picture of it, 8647. Let's be clear, whether or not you agree with Stuart Rhodes is not the point. The point is that the Three-Headed Eagle Alliance has the same constitutional right to assemble and speak as anyone else. This is the flyer that they are circulating Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025, 6 to 8 p.m., Pints and Politics. And I'm honored to tell you, I was actually one of their first speakers at their very first inaugural event. So this group has a very special place in my heart because I helped to kick off this organization by speaking at this Pints and Politics event. And now Stuart Rhodes is going to be gracing the same stage. In the aftermath of January 6, 2021, Stuart Rhodes was sentenced to 18 years in prison. He's been the last 3 years behind bars, including 1 year in solitary confinement, widely viewed by his supporters as a political prisoner due to his outspoken belief that the 2020 election was fraudulent. Rhodes will speak about January 6, his experience in prison, and what he is working on now. I guarantee you, you want to be at this event. And if you feel the need to contact the Eaglebrook Country Club, you call them and tell them thank you for hosting an American patriot. Thank you for allowing a voice to be heard. Because remember, right? All voices, everyone deserves to be heard. Free speech does not apply to voices the left approves of. It applies especially to voices the mob hates. If they can cancel Rhodes today, they will cancel you tomorrow. This is a screenshot of the Facebook event that the Three-Headed Eagles has posted. Pints and Politics, Stuart Rhodes, Patriot, J6 prisoner, American patriot, at the Eaglebrook Country Club in Geneva. These tolerant activists love to weaponize businesses. They bully venues into bans. They use petitions, smear campaigns, and mob pressure to enforce one ideology that is not democracy. That's authoritarianism in drag. Here is one of their events.
The Women's March is about positivity. It's about taking care of each other. So when we're out here, it's a physical, visible, tangible thing that we can do to say, this is what the Women's...
Here, democracy is protected when everyone's voice has a chance to be heard. We can lead change. This is one of the images that's proudly presented on their website. Isn't that ironic? Democracy is protected when everyone's voice has a chance to be heard, except for Stuart Rhodes. Of course, they supported the No Kings nationwide Day of Defiance. And here is one of their tabling, one of the tables at one of their events. Not sure who all of these women are, but these are the ones that, I guess, believe that Stuart Rhodes is a threat. Meanwhile, the Three-Headed Eagle Alliance is doing what Americans have always done, hosting discussions, bringing people together, exercising rights our Constitution guarantees. There it is. Their mission. Our goal as a nonprofit is to educate voters on local issues important to them and challenge leaders to fulfill their oath of office. Pretty noble. The event is September 23rd, 6 o'clock to 8 p.m., Eaglebrook Country Club, Geneva, Illinois, hosted by Three-Headed Eagles. It's not about one man. It's about the First Amendment itself. Guest speaker, Stuart Rhodes. The irony writes itself. They scream about democracy while working overtime to silence it. They shout inclusion while excluding anyone who thinks differently. They virtue signal while tolerating assassination codes. It says at the bottom here, by working together, we strive to build a more inclusive, responsive, and democratic society. Endorsing candidates, but proudly displaying assassination codes on their website. This is the full petition here. We, the undersigned, respectfully call on Eaglebrook to withdraw its invitation for Stuart Rhodes to speak at your facility. Now, to be clear, Eaglebrook did not invite him. By offering a platform to an individual whose views and actions we believe contribute to division and harm and spread of extremist rhetoric, the club risks aligning its reputation with ideas that undermine the safety and well-being of our community. By offering a platform to an individual, they believe he will contribute division and harm because of his rhetoric. Unbelievable. But this is, how can, I mean, he would have been in and out. Nobody would even known he was there. And the only people who are creating division are these folks. But everyone's voice should be heard, right? It's important to note Stuart Rhodes, founder of the Oath Keepers, was convicted of seditious conspiracy for his leadership role in the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison, the longest sentence handed down in connection with the insurrection. Although his sentence was later commuted, his conviction stands as a stark reminder of the danger that he possesses. As a valued community institution, Eaglebrook Country Club has the responsibility to foster an environment that promotes respect, safety, and inclusivity. Except Stuart Rhodes. We urge you to reconsider this decision and stand with the broader community in rejecting extremism in all its forms. Isn't that crazy? This is the line in the sand. If we let these partisan censors win, the First Amendment loses. Stand up, speak out, and defend free speech. Follow Next News for more truth the fake news won't touch. I got a phone call from Debbie, one of the lead organizers of the Three-Headed Eagles organization, after I posted this thread. And she said that she's getting phone calls from members who are thanking her for hosting this. Members of the club who are thankful. So if you do feel the need, make sure you contact the club and tell them thank you. This guy here, Alex, I'll be there. I didn't even know this was happening. Thanks for the heads up. Flashback, March 1st, 2024, Stuart Rhodes serving an 18-year prison sentence for seditious conspiracy despite never even going in the Capitol and urging followers not to go inside. Anderson Cooper, 360, January 14th, 2022. Oath Keepers leader Stuart Rhodes has spewed anti-government rhetoric for more than a decade.
Oath Keeper leader and founder Stewart Rhodes has spent nearly a year publicly denying he had anything to do with the violence on January 6th.
There were no plans by the leadership, us, me and the team leader, Whip, to enter the Capitol. No instructions by us to do so. And we didn't even know that any of our guys had done it until afterwards.
But this indictment tells a different story, accusing Rhodes of seditious conspiracy, a complex, months-long plan for a massively bloody revolution if Joe Biden took office. Prosecutors allege Oath Keepers prepared for battle at Rhodes' direction, Rhodes purchasing thousands of dollars in guns and tactical equipment, others setting up an armed quick reaction force and communicating as they stormed the Capitol.
Of course, that's a CNN report. You know how they like to skew things. Here's more from the Associated Press. Take it with a grain of salt. Stuart Rhodes was a paratrooper, congressional staffer, an artist, Yale law grad, and a state Supreme Court clerk before he launched the far-right Oath Keepers. Now he faces some of the most serious charges leveled in the January 6th attack. But let's go to the other side. Let's check in with Lindell TV. This was published on June 9th of this year with Kara Castronova, who is a White House correspondent, interviewing Stuart Rhodes.
Of the Be American.
Hey everybody, Kara Castronova with Lindell TV. Here in Washington, D.C., we ran into Stuart Rhodes, the politically persecuted Oath Keeper who's still seeking a pardon from President Trump. Why are you here today?
Well, actually, I was here last night for the launch of the Be America PAC. I was invited to go attend that, and I got a chance to meet Peter Tickton in person and thank him for advocating for our pardons, not just for myself, but all the other Oath Keepers and Proud Boys that are still waiting for a pardon. We were commuted. Of course, we're grateful to be out of prison, but we now need to have all our rights restored. I'm a disabled veteran and lost all my disability. Got a nasty letter from the VA when I was in solitary confinement, letting me know that I was could not be buried in his veteran cemetery any longer, even though it's a totally innocent man. So that's why I was here last night. And then today we attended me and Enrique Tarrio and Ivan attended the sentencing for the good guy police officer, Shane Lamont. So he was sentenced today to 18 months in prison for wanting to go testify at the Proud Boy trial. And just like what happened with us with the Oath Keeper trial, you announce someone as a witness and then they indict them. That happened to us with Kelly Sorrell, our general counsel. As soon as we listed her as a witness, they indicted her. Same thing happened in the Proud Boy trial. They were going to have Shane Lamont come and testify, lieutenant from the D.C. Metro Police Department, and that's when they indicted him too.
Are people frustrated? A lot of people I talk to are frustrated that the Department of Justice and the FBI still has a lot of the same people in that persecuted you guys.
I saw my own prosecutor there today. Jeffrey Nestler came in and sat down with his buddies watching this sentencing.
Did he look at you?
Yes, he did. Yeah, he's like, "Oh, nice to see you." I said,
I would have given him the finger
I said,
and told
"Not
him
nice to see you." That's what I told him. So yes, he should be fired at the very minimum. Actually, he should be fired and then he should be indicted because he was caught red-handed suborning the perjury of two Capitol Police officers, Harry Dunn and Officer Lazarus, who both lied and said they were together, and they were not together that day because Lazarus was actually in the tunnels under the Senate. Steve Baker found that video that proved they were not together, so they committed perjury on the stand. They should be prosecuted for perjury. Then they can inform on and roll over on the prosecutors who suborned their perjury, and of course they'll roll over on their superiors, right up the chain of command. That's what should be happening.
Cash Patel and Bongino and Pam Bondi need to do more with weeding out the deep state agents that are still over there at the Department of Justice.
At least fire them, and same with the FBI. So the FBI agents that persecuted all of us are still on the job. Why is that? In fact, the one that oversaw all of our persecutions, Jensen, was promoted.
Do you think they'll go after President Trump in a couple years if they're not weeded out now?
They're going to go after all of us. I mean, it'll be 10 times worse. Unless we actually defeat the deep state and drain the swamp, which means fire, at the minimum, fire all these willing tools. 5,000 agents obeyed unconstitutional, unlawful orders to persecute all of us. They're still on the job. They should be fired.
A big part of the swamp I realized covering January 6 trials is the judges, the judiciary, especially here in D.C., and also the Department of Justice and obviously the FBI. Yep. And we were hopeful, and I'm still hopeful that they'll clean that stuff out. But I guess we have to pray to God and hope that this administration does the right thing. Absolutely. For their own self-preservation.
Well, for our country's preservation. Yes.
Of course, that too, but at least understand that every single person in the administration, like Stephen Miller, like J.D. Vance, all of them in a couple years from now could be the Oath Keepers. They could be the Roger Stones, the Patrick Burns, and the Steve Bannons that got prosecuted and persecuted.
Or President Trump. Right. They tried to put him in prison too. And the whole point of all the prosecutions was, of course, to get him. And it didn't work. God will use for good what man means for evil. But we have a duty and responsibility. As the founders said, duty is ours, results are God's. We must do our duty. That's what we hope to see is more aggressive cleaning up and draining of the swamp by firing those who were complicit. If you obey unlawful orders and violate people's rights, you have no business being in a position of power any longer. You violated your oath. My oath as a paratrooper was not to defend the Constitution unless I might lose my job, in which case I'm given a pass. That's what's happened with these rank and file FBI agents and also in the DOJ.
To clarify, Stewart Rhodes is still looking for a pardon from President Trump. His sentence was commuted, but he's not receiving his veterans benefits and all of the other benefits that come with serving your country.
And the same goes for Joe Biggs and Dominic Pizzola, Kenya Harrelson, all of us veterans, the same situation we're in.
I'm hearing good things, so I think Trump is going to pardon you, and he's aware of it, so that's the good news.
Trump, and I'm really glad to see that Peter Tickton, he's my attorney for my pardon, and I'm glad that he's advocating for us. I think he's doing a very good job.
Thanks so much.
All right, God bless you. Take care.
God bless you.
Right.
Hey.
President Trump needs to pardon Stewart Rhodes right away. Stewart Rhodes, founder of Oath Keepers, speaks at the Proud Boys Oath Keepers press conference at the Capitol. This was in February.
Brothers, so what man means for evil, God can use for good. Just as Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers, but ended up saving many lives, so too for this country here. What was done to President Trump, the lawfare against him, the lawfare against us, has been used for good. Every time they attacked him, he only got stronger. They tried to disqualify him from being able to run under the 14th Amendment. That's what this was all about. All this was like a massive conspiracy case with President Trump, a massive fake conspiracy case with President Trump as the designated kingpin, Enrique Tarrio and I as designated lieutenants, and all of the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys as the spearhead of this so-called insurrection conspiracy. Complete false garbage. And all the other people in here as rank and file soldiers. All this complete nonsense. The false narrative was set very early. February 16, 2021, Benny Thompson, member of Congress, the guy who went on the chair of the J6 Select Committee, filed a lawsuit along with other members of Congress suing President Trump, Giuliani, Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, just weeks after the Capitol incident, alleging a conspiracy to disenfranchise black voters by challenging the election as unconstitutional and stolen, and also attacking democracy. That's where the narrative was set. Everything else was a dog and pony show trials, both in the J6 Select Committee, public show trial, and all of our trials were just manufactured show trials to make that true, to arrive at a destination they had already decided on long ago. They knew where they wanted to go. And all of our trials is a way to get there. So that's why they charged Oath Keepers and Proud Boys with the seditious conspiracy. The only people charged with that were us, members of our two groups, to make it look like, oh, these two dangerous groups, these violent groups. My organization is made up of military and police officers, firefighters, and EMTs. I was a paratrooper in the Army, disabled veteran. I was a firefighter. About 30% of our guys are law enforcement officers. Some of them were here on Capitol grounds that day helping police officers. But they were not allowed to show that to the jury. Mike Nichols, a New York City Oath Keeper cop, retired, was here. He was asked by Tariq Johnson on that day. That's the black officer that wore a MAGA hat to get through the crowd. He was asked by Tariq Johnson to help get Capitol police officers out of the Capitol. He went inside with him, escorted them out. We couldn't show that video. We couldn't have him testify at our trial because that went against the false narrative that all the Oath Keepers were there to cause violence. And they were
what about all the FBI agents? What about all the provocateurs who were there on site? Right? Well, you're going to find out a lot more if you attend this event on September 23rd, 2025 at the Eaglebrook Country Club, 6 to 8 in Geneva, Illinois. I hope to see you there. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this exposes everything wrong with our justice system. Stewart Rhodes gets 18 years for words while leftists openly promote Trump's assassination without consequence. Shakespeare in the Park depicted Trump's murder. They call it art. Celebrities post death fantasies. They call it free speech. But when Rhodes tries to speak about his wrongful imprisonment, they mobilize to silence him. The hypocrisy breathtaking. The same Illinois protesters trying to shut down Rhodes probably cheered when Madonna talked about blowing up the White House. They'd probably defend Kathy Griffin's severed Trump head, but clutch pearls when Rhodes discusses constitutional rights. They want him silenced because the story destroys their narrative. The J6 defendants are terrorists, not political prisoners. Now, Trump's commutation didn't just free Rhodes, it exposed their selective outrage about violence. They promote assassination while prosecuting protests. So here's the question. Should all J6 defendants receive immediate pardons? Yes or no? Let's have this conversation down below. And you can stand for justice and support our work here by visiting shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. You'll find it linked down below.